And I think it's probably going to take a while because at least with our purchasing pipeline, it's super complex. There's a lot of steps to it. So let me share my screen, and I think this will be good for you guys to kind of see what's going on in Bittrex behind the scenes. So in the CRM, um, and feel free to ask questions or anything as we do this. Let's start with the general pipeline since that's like the simplest of them all. It only basically has uh, two stages, and so if we view the pipeline in the Kanban or Kanban view, um, yeah, there's this stage, and then there's a closed deal, right? And so what happens is anytime a new deal is automatically created in Bittrex from a phone call or an email, um, it goes into this pipeline, the general pipeline, because we don't know if the person contacting us is going to be a buyer or so this is where all automatic deals that the system creates go. If you want to create a new deal, like if you're talking to a seller or a buyer, you can actually go to that pipeline. So if someone wants to sell their property or if we get a purchase agreement, you can go to the purchasing pipeline and click add, and it will add the deal into that pipeline instead of putting it here in the general. So in the general pipeline, there's only one step, and if I click automation rules, it shows these are the two stages of a closed deal. It could be, um, you know, someone who's not interested or junk mail. And these are the automatic tasks or automatic triggers that occur with each of these stages in this pipeline. So you can see that here there's only one automation that happens in each of these stages. So when a new deal comes in, there's this task to move the deal to a pipeline. And right now, so here is the automatically generated task. So it runs immediately when a new deal comes in. And here's the task name. And then here's the description. So these are the, like I have the YouTube video links and kind of the description of what to do. And the responsible person I have as Danria for the deal, or for this task, sorry, not the deal. I guess one question to ask is, so there are there's like the responsible person for the task, and there's also the person who owns the deal. And right now, in the general pipeline, I think it probably makes sense for Dan to own the deal and be the responsible person. And that way, you know, we can. I guess owning the deal doesn't make a huge difference if we just assign all the tasks to a specific person. But we might want to play with deal ownership later. Uh, but I guess for a responsible person, that's probably the most important thing. So uh, Dan, you've probably seen this task come up a few times when new deals are generated from emails, and it goes to you. Um, and then down here, we have the deadline. So this is basically how long you have to complete the task. And so you can, select hours or days from a start time. You can make it so it's only during working hours. This one basically gives you like one working day to complete the task. Um, and then when we come down here, there are different roles with each task. So there's the responsible person. There are also participants or observers. Um, and you know, it doesn't. I don't think it makes a huge difference which one someone's in. But if like let's say Christina was not in these departments or listed down here as an observer, she wouldn't even know this task existed because she's not mentioned on it. Um, so I think it's good to have at least as a participant or observer, uh, you know, Christina and Dan and me, so that way we can all kind of see what the tasks are that are out there. And then here's the checklist. So it has 2 steps, and these are the little, checklist things that you click with each step. And you can make it high priority. When it's high priority, it has a little flame on it. Let's see. This might be kind of like boring review if you already know this stuff. But like this little flame right here means it's high priority. Um, and then so I can also, these boxes allow the responsible person to change the deadline. So if something comes up, you can write a message and say like, hey, I'm having trouble contacting this person, or whatever the issue is, and then I'm going to extend the deadline a little bit. And then enabling time tracking means that when you click on the task, also has a view. Try to get rid of all those, but okay. So they're like time things. So if I wanted to work on this task, I could track the time that I spend on it. Most of our tasks are pretty fast, so I don't know if it makes sense to track like 5 or 10 minutes of doing something. But if you want to, you can. Just make sure you're using the time doctor the whole time you're working. And then you could put in planned time, like how long we think the task should take, but I don't do that. This is what I was just talking about when I looked at that task that Christina completed. Task requires approval to be closed. That's something I would do for a task where it's like I think it's a good idea for another person to check just to make sure everything looks okay or to provide feedback. Um, and then finally include the task in the efficiency report. So that just means that when you look at your have like this efficiency thing, I don't uh, I don't necessarily know exactly how it's calculated because like I basically completed every task except for one day I had a late task or something and it says I'm at 80%. I don't know. But yeah, I think this is like I think right now it's on a month. So up here it says current month. Yeah. Yeah, I think you can actually, if you want, you can change it to show how you're doing, like weekly, or if I wanted, I could look at quarter, and it would show me that. So you can see, like, I mean, yeah, this is back when like it was generating a whole bunch of tasks that didn't make any sense to do. So, or no, we used to have it set up. I know what this is. We used to have it set up so all the tasks would be due the second, like the second the system generated them, the task would already be at its due date. So it was basically like we were late on every task we completed. Remember that, Christina? That's how it was. Yeah, yeah. So it was like, even if you complete the task within 5 minutes, it's still late. So I don't know. I mean, maybe this will be more helpful if we have better timelines for tasks. It'll be useful, but for now, you know, I wouldn't worry about it. Yeah, I think the most important thing to worry about is just making sure that if you have tasks that are going to be late, let me know, and um, if and then I can kind of say, oh, okay, let's look at the tasks you have. These are the ones that are the highest priority. Let's reschedule some things so you can focus on the ones that are most important first. So anyway, that's what the efficiency report means. Um, uh, and so there, that's basically what I can do for these tasks. And then I can set up like automation timing and stuff that gets more complicated. So I think this one's probably okay because Dan's the person responsible for it, and her role is to kind of be the first point of contact when people, whether they're buyers or sellers, reach out to need ventures. So, or you know, coveted land if they're a buyer, and then it moves into a pipeline, or if it doesn't go into a pipeline, you can just put it in one of these categories to close it, or I guess you could also probably just delete it. It's not a deal we're going to worry. And all these are just notifications to me to let me know that these deals have been moved into the release stages. So it's not actually a task or any action. It just gives me a notification here, these notifications. Okay, that's the general pipeline, and I think that provides a good, since it's super simple, it's kind of easy to follow um, how the automation stuff works. If we go to the purchasing pipeline, this is kind of where things get more complicated because if you look at the pipeline, you see there's several stages, and then if I go to the automation rules, make this full screen. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so um, sometimes, so I don't know if you've discovered this, but you saw what I just did. Um, and I clicked on automation and the Bitrix system. You know how it kind of like pulls up a new, I don't know what to call it, a new screen on top of the screen you're looking at, kind of. Like, for example, if I like click here, it opens the chat screen on top of the efficiency screen, right? Well, sometimes you can like, let's say I want to look at a deal. So I go to deals and I click on this one. Okay, so this Debbie Creeks deal is on top of the screen I'm looking at. This to be full screen. Usually, if I reload the page, it'll make that the deal full screen. I mean, that's not always super helpful because usually you can see everything you need to, but I don't know, just a little pointer that I've discovered. So anyway, here are the automation rules for uh, the purchasing pipeline. So you can see that there are like lots of tasks, especially at this stage right here, the due diligence stage. These are all different tasks that are generated. And I think this stage is the one that probably needs the most work, and we probably need to make it a little bit more sophisticated. Um, but first, let's talk about, and then you can scroll over and see that there are several more stages out here. So first, let's talk about uh, who should kind of be responsible for the deals at each stage. And I think there are going to be some stages where it might be kind of a blurred line. Like there might be some things that one of you wants to focus on, and some things that the other one wants to focus on or be responsible for. So let's see. So at first, when a new deal is added, um, we have this task, which is to move the deal to the right stage that it belongs in. And the reason we have this stage right here, it seems kind of pointless, but if we move a deal from the general pipeline into this pipeline, it automatically goes into the first stage. So I wanted a stage where uh, it doesn't generate stuff that not be applicable to the deal. Because sometimes we get deals where, or sometimes we get, someone will contact us with a counter offer um, that we want to consider, or they want us to send them a new offer. And so they're kind of like different tasks for that. Someone just sends us the signed purchase agreement back, right? So it could go into like either one of these two stages. So that's what this task is kind of saying. And we have Dan as the responsible person, and kind of a fast. So that gives you about like one work day to do this. So I don't know, does this make sense to you guys? Sure. Yeah. For a lot of them, yes. Because a lot of people will just say, "Hey, I want to complete this offer," and they'll send it to us via email, or they'll send it to our actual physical mailbox in the post, or they'll fax it. So those are kind of the ways that we'll get an accepted offer. Um, but sometimes we have people that call and say they want to negotiate, and I guess it's kind of up to you whether or not you want to create an offer at that point, or not an offer, a deal at that point, because um, if if they seem pretty serious and they're like, I just need like 5% more, then maybe it makes sense to quickly create a deal. And because in order for me to save this change, oh, let me also make sure you can see possible. So for this, the acquisitions department is a participant, and we're observers. I think that looks good. Um, yeah. Okay. So if if someone wants us to send a um, a new like if we're going to make an offer to someone at a different price, it's a lot easier to do if there's a deal because I have a way to send a new purchase agreement. So if I were to if I wanted to send a new purchase agreement to Debbie Creeks, I can just go in here, click this, And then, let's see, great. So what will happen is Bittrex will create a purchase agreement for me to use, and I can just change the price, and then I can, send that to the person that wanted to negotiate. So all these yellow things are things that Bittrex fills in based on information in the database. So in this case, this was our initial offer to Debbie, 52,689, and I think we sent her a revised offer of like 67,000 some change, right? So this is what I did because I created a deal for her. It was super easy to produce a new purchase agreement for me. Um, so I basically just opened up the document, changed the number, and then I sent that to her. So in situations where we are going to send a counteroffer or we're going to send a new offer, like I can't remember who it was, but someone said they wrote on the purchase agreement, um, and so they wanted us to send a clean copy so they could sign it. So I did the same thing. I created a deal for them, and then I made a new document, and then I sent that. So I think that was someone in North Carolina. So that's the reason why we have this stage here. So, uh, like the person we were talking about at the very beginning of this call, when you said they're expecting like 15, probably not going to make a counter offer for their property. So we could probably, is it worth the effort of making a deal for that? Probably not. It's probably not going to go anywhere. And if they do come back to us and say, "Oh, you know what? I'll accept a much lower price," then we can make a deal at that point. So it's a little bit judgment, and it's a little bit, like kind of, I guess, use your common sense to determine whether it's worth the effort of creating the new deal or not. Someone calls it. All right. Any other questions? Okay. All right. So as you can see, uh, Dan is the person responsible for these three tasks here. So this is, I think all three of these are kind of like making sure the information in the deal is correct. So fixing the name of the deal, and this is 1 day turnaround. Um, Sunday. Oh, let me make sure. So looks like we're participants. I don't know if you can delegate to someone that's not a participant. I think you can, but I'm not sure. So I think for now, maybe it makes sense just to put us as participants in case we want to delegate. Or put the. All right, so this one is to make sure the contact information is correct. Check that. Makes sense. Oh, I need to check the timeline. Make this workflow as well. And this one, 2 days. Okay. And this is the one where you link the property to the deal, add comps, get the screenshots, and then oh, I should also add you can also use what was, so if you have several photos that you want to um, shrink down so they're not huge files, you can use bulk resize. And to do that, so here you can pick how long you want the longest side of the image to be, the number of pixels. And if you click expert mode, you can change the image quality. I usually have it somewhere between 60 and 70%, and that'll make a much smaller image. So it went from 3 megabytes down to 400 or 47 kilobytes, so it's a lot smaller. So you can do that. That's a little faster than Pixlr. If you're with a lot of these photos, though, I guess you're kind of getting a screenshot and you're probably writing some text on them or maybe drawing on them. And in that case, you need to use Pixlr anyway because bulk resize can't do that. So, but if you have several photos you want to shrink at once, bulk resize is way faster for that. Oh, I think this is a little bit different than what's in the description here. Let me make sure. So link the property to the deal. Deal.com. And then create a link to Google Maps. Okay. Add a Google Maps step. Oh yeah. What's that? Uh huh. Ah. Oh, that's so much easier, huh? Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. Uh huh. Uh huh. Yeah. Uh, I also kind of want to get your opinions on. So right now we're doing all the screenshots and stuff. We're using so we use CalTopo. Dan, have you used this yet? You used CalTopo? Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, sure. So let's see. Uh, so basically, let me see if I can find part of the country that's more interesting. Florida is um, it's like it's like the flattest part. It's like basically it's just really really flat with a whole bunch of swamps and lakes. That's all Florida is. But like here in the Southwest, it's pretty mountainy. So um, you can kind of see Caltapo has a few things that are pretty cool. Sometimes our properties are like in the middle of nowhere and there aren't good roads to them. And in Caltapo, they have like trails and stuff. So you can sometimes see how to get to the property from a trail. Um, and they have, so under base layers, you can pick from all these different maps. So if you wanted to see what a Google, here's the Google Street Map, right? There's like no information basically. If you wanted to do the Google Hybrid, so it's like the satellite and the street, that's what it looks like. There's also, so the this map, they call it Scan 7.5, but it's from like the U.S. Geological Services. they have really detailed maps, and these are good for identifying like points of interest or names of things nearby. So like, oh, this is Box Canyon, right? It doesn't say that if I go to like the Google hybrid map. All it shows me is this. But here it's like, oh, I have a name for the thing. And that really helps when you're trying to sell it to someone because they're like, oh, it's by, sometimes people know what these features are. They're like, oh, I know Box Canyon. And sometimes it just kind of sounds cool. It's like, oh, it's by, Box Canyon. That sounds cool. Um, and there are a whole bunch of other maps, as you can see, that you can pick to overlay. And then the other thing that's helpful, more in the Western United States, is that they have this public lands thing, and that will tell you whether the government owns property. So anything that's colored is owned by the government. And here they have different colors with different government organizations. So if it's blue, the state owns it. If it's red, it's like a local government, like a city or a county. If it's orange, a lot of the land in the Western United States is owned by the federal government and an organization called the Bureau of Land Management, or BLM. And then the green one is the Forest Service. So if I zoom out, you're going to see that a lot of the land, so this is what we're dealing with. Like when I send mailers out to buy land, um, you're looking at like a whole bunch of land all over the United States, but look at how much of it the government owns. I mean, I can't buy any of that stuff. I can only work with stuff that's not colored. Um, so the Western U.S. has a lot more government land. Like here's Nevada. It's basically all the whole thing except for this little area right here in Las Vegas. And then the Eastern U.S. has a lot less. Um, so yeah, CalTopo is kind of cool because it has lots of different map features you can do. The other one that is helpful is the slope shading. So sometimes a property can be a major problem property if it has a really steep slope, because you can't build on something if it's like a cliff. So this will, like, the colors indicate how steep the slope is, obviously. So anyway, CalTopo, that's what that does. And it's a good resource. And this is totally off topic for today's call, but we might as well do it now. I kind of wanted to get your thoughts. No, that's fine. I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on using this program. It's called MapRight. So it might kind of like Google My Map, right? You can see that they drew an outline of their property boundary here, and then they also drew some other things. Now keep in mind that they had, like, someone had to put all this into the map, and like Christina mentioned, with CalTopo, I think here you can also just upload a KML file. But CalTopo has so many cool map layers that that's pretty nice. Here they have lots of base layers, which so if I look at our Texas property in Malone County, if I look at this map, it looks pretty ugly, right? It's like kind of brown and dead. Like they must have taken that picture um, in the dry season. So it's not a very pretty shot. But if I uh, here you can kind of choose what you want your default map to be. So you can pick Google Maps. So look, if you look at this property, Google Map doesn't look as appealing. You know, it's like at a different season with a lot of the fields planted. If I click on this one, oh, it's really slow right now. I think doing this map plus the videos is okay. So here it's like greener, right? You can kind of pick the season almost that you want to show the property in. You're more likely to get a pretty map of the property. And then you can also pick uh, different things to show. So you can just do wetlands here on this map, and it shows the wetlands. Um, and if I turn wetlands off, water features off, you can do the floodplain just on this map. Um, yeah, it's not free. The other ones are free, but you can kind of do most of the stuff in one place. Contour lines. They don't show like the colored slopes like I was just showing you in CalTopo. They do have this, which is helpful. They'll show you what soil types there are for people that want to do like farming or something. So no, you would need to have an account to draw the map and to let other people view it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is just like a sample map that they're letting you play with on their website. So I don't know. I mean, right now, what we're doing is we're using Google Map, My Map, and then we're using CalTopo, right? And we're using the wetlands map service, and we're using the FEMA flood map service, and we're using um, one that they don't have on MapRight is the like the I can't remember what it's called. I'm blanking right now. Like the environmental hazards. The EPA. Yep. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. The EPA map. They don't have that here. So you can't. If there's like a toxic waste dump on the property, like it's an old nuclear power plant that they like destroyed, it's not going to show up here. But that one we'd still probably do separately. Um, most of the others, you kind of just do them in one place. And then we could also just link to the map that you create in our website so that way other people can see the same thing. So they can see the pictures of it on the website and then they can click the link to go to the interactive map. So I don't know. I mean, think about it. Let me know if you think that would be simpler since you're the ones that are doing the tasks. Like if you think it's easier and better. Okay. So yeah, I don't know if Dan has ever used Basemap before, but um, by the time you've been working with us for a little while, you'll know like every mapping thing there is in the world that covers the United States. Uh-huh. Okay, yeah, I got the I don't know, I got the $4 one a while back, and then I was like, the problem with Basemap is that um, I can't I can't do what I do with Google My Maps, where I create a map that everyone can see and I can just post a link to it. Um, but it is great for pictures, like you can, yeah, exactly. It's great for screenshots. And they have a lot of good layers. And if you can load a KML in here, then that makes it pretty easy because you can kind of just put a KML in each map, and then you don't have to draw it every time, you know? Yeah, Christina, Dan, you were drawing maps to do screenshots earlier, right? Yeah. Okay, so maybe you should schedule a time with Christina to walk through um, how to upload KMLs to each of the sites. Just 'cause that might save you a lot of time drawing them. Yeah, yeah, it makes a huge difference. Especially the more complicated properties, it's like I've I've spent yeah, I've spent like years where I'm like, okay, so it's like the property starts like 5 trees over. Okay, I put the point there, and then I'm like, okay, I go down, and it's like in between these two green dots is the next point, and yeah, uh-huh, hmm yeah, those are hard, and the other ones that are really hard are like, um, whenever this loads. So if you're in like a really flat, deserty place like here, it's like, you know, oh my gosh, I don't know. It all looks about the same. Where does it start? Where does it stop? So so yeah. I mean, if you guys think about it and let me know. Like, feel free to look at the MapRight website. If you think it's just as easy to get a KML file, load it into Basemap to get some cool screenshots, and then load it into Google Maps. Oh, not in Basemap. Okay. Uh-huh. Oh, I get what you're saying. When you look at, so if you do the land and then parcel boundaries, is that what you're saying? You just, so, so yeah, so like you probably can't see it because the gray blends in with the tan, but they're like gray, there's a gray square that goes like this. So you can just copy that. Uh-huh. Yeah. So like if I zoom in here, it'll show, you can kind of tell because these are all fields that are being farmed, but it shows like the parcel lines, gray lines. Yeah, you can just click on that. It makes it a lot easier to draw. So if you're not doing the KML thing, you can go to Basemap and then draw it on the parcel boundaries. You can turn that one on, and then you can draw it. Yeah. So I mean, if you think it'd be easier to use this, let me know. We can get a subscription to that we share. If not, we can keep using um, My Maps to link on our website for people. I think this is helpful for people because they can like zoom out to better understand, where the property is and move it around and look at it. This might be, a little bit more complicated for someone who's not familiar with map stuff because you have like all these different layers, but it is handy. Yeah, yeah, but we're learning. We're so we use MyMap, BaseMap, uh, CalTopo, uh, the let's learn the wetlands survey, wetlands mapper, and FEMA. So I don't know. That's like five different things, and then the EPA we have to use no matter what. So whatever. I'm cool with either option. I mean, what we're doing now is free, so hey, that's great. Um, but I guess especially since it looks like um, Dan will probably be doing the mapping stuff more or less. You know, kind of learn the ones we do now, and then also play with the map right. If you think the map right is easier or would be better, then let me know. Um, all right, so that was this one, right? No, that was the product setup. Oh yeah, and then for this, with well, I think Christina didn't we used to do it where we just made this account the owner for all the maps? You like shared an owner link or something? I don't know. Uh-huh. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. Let me make a note of that. Yeah, that would be easier because then you don't have to share it. Oh, okay. You should have access to it. I think you should have. Uh, okay. Yeah. So that way we all have access to that account and we can. That way it's easier to find like if you're um, so that way if you need to get like a shared link to a file. I mean, I'm in my account right now, so if I go to the Deep Ventures, you need to get access to one of our maps and send it to somebody or whatever because you can't find it somewhere else. You should, this is the place to go. You can just log in and then you can share the map. Cool. All right. Um, Yeah. Yeah, let me see if I can find uh, I'm not very good at navigating YouTube, actually. All right. So, again, this video basically just walks through how to get a KML file and then how to how to take coordinates, turn them into a KML file, and then use that KML file um, for the program. I think I just used my maps for this, but and you might have already seen that video. All right, so okay, we did the first two stages. Now the accepted offer stage. I'm gonna click save. The accepted offer stage. So this one's more complex. It's got automation rules in it. And so I need to click on, it's all one box, but it's got several steps. So I can do stuff like this, where it's like, okay, once this happens, then these three tasks need to get done. Once all three of those tasks are complete, then we move on to the next stage. Um, so this is not as easy, as user friendly. I don't know why they don't give you the same pop-up boxes that we had in the previous screen for doing this, but it's like less user friendly here. So this is the task of creating a deal name, making sure the deal name matches what it should be. Oh, and this should be, okay, so this should probably still be Dan, yeah? Um, just to kind of show where we are. We are right here at accepted offer. So I know what I was kind of thinking is to have Dan do these three stages, the new deal, counter offer, accepted offer. And then at this stage, it might be kind of a blend of both of you depending on the task. And then, but like this is probably mostly Christina things. And some of them are things that only I can do because you have to be in the United States. Um, and then uh, from this point on, kind of being probably more Christina stuff than Dan stuff. So in terms of like so uh, so for setting up, checking the deal name to make sure that the deal name matches our format, you know, with like the person's name and then the property name. Um, This might be a repeat depending on where this deal has been before. Because the problem is some deals will have gone through prior stages, and some deals will just automatically pop up here if we get a signed agreement. So some of these tasks might be kind of duplicates, but it's also good to double check, like, if the contact information is correct for someone. Christina, were there any issues with you doing these deals? Like, have you run into any problems? Um, did you ever run into problems doing these deals, doing these steps? Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh. Um, well, I don't know. I mean, if you can talk it over with Dan, and I was just thinking that it might make sense to have someone do all the things at first, but if you think it makes more sense for you to do maps, I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Dan? Okay. So is that one that you would rather do, Christina, the maps? Okay. We can go back and so what we'll do for that then, because it's part of another task that's like checking other stuff. So we'll separate it from the other steps in that. If that makes sense. Um, ah, yeah, yeah. I think yeah, yeah. I think what might be happening is I think I changed some things to go to Dan 100% of the time, and then other things are still assigned to like the acquisitions department or something, and so it just rotates. So we still get those tasks, and then I think on one of the pipelines, I think Dan gets the tasks. So uh, so this is one that needs to be split. Um, haven't done this in a while. Um, and this one's way harder than the other screen. Like doing things in this screen is a lot easier. It's less complicated. All right. So maybe for this call, I'll just make a note and then I'll do this after the call. I think 'cause I don't want to take all of your time while I'm trying to figure out how to do something. So um, And then there's also the same task. So yeah, if a deal has already gone to counteroffer, um, those tasks may have already been done, and then they'll show up again in accepted offer. Uh, so I guess just double check what has been done, and then if it's already completed, mark it. Maybe I should also make a note of that in all of the accepted offer tasks. All right, so this stage right here, the next stage of due diligence marketing is obviously the most intense because it has so many things. And I think I'm gonna have to use the same complicated automation rules that we have for the accepted offer stage. Um, and so I think for here, instead of me making the edits live on the call, let's just talk about the way things should work for these tasks. And um, maybe we can, I guess this call is already kind of long. So maybe what we can do is just go through like some of the most important things here, and then discuss the order they should go in. Um, I need to look at all of them and say, figure out who should do which ones and what order they should be in. So, how are we doing on like? Are we missing a lot of any calls in Better Voice, or do you guys have anything that's like urgent to get done? Yeah, like, do you have any calls that you need to get back to right now? Okay. And you guys both know how to like filter the tasks screen, right? So because we're gonna see a lot of each other's tasks, but if you just filter by responsible person. So if I wanted to see all of Dan's, I can just click on Dan's. Okay, good. I just want to make sure we don't get overwhelmed. We stay organized each individually. So okay. All right. It sounds like we can probably, if you guys are okay with it, have this call go on. It'll probably take like somewhere between half an hour to 40 minutes to do this. I'm gonna just start a new video clip